Welcome to This Dementia Life, created by Dementia Action Alliance. Our website is danow.org. I'm proud to be your host, Chuck McClatchy, and I live my dementia life with Alzheimer's disease. During this Dementia Life podcast, we will have conversations with inspiring people living with dementia and the amazing people that care about us. My guest today is my dear friend, Bonnie, and she is an advocate, a public speaker. She works tirelessly. She was a member of the Alzheimer's early stage advisory group. So Bonnie, why don't you go ahead and just kind of, tell us who you are and kind of where your drive comes from to work so hard helping people.
Well, okay. And thank you, Chuck, for having me. Sometimes us seasoned folks don't see each other that often. So I was honored when you did a reach out. So my name is Bonnie and I live in Billings, Montana. 4 years ago, I had a stroke, which landed me in the hospital. And then through imaging, I was discovered that, yes, indeed, there was a stroke, but it was also discovered that I had moderate white matter disease, which is basically small vessel issues, unhealthy small vessels deep within the brain, and which was causing some cognitive impairments that I didn't understand then and do understand now. And so down the road I went. And the sad part about it was my doctor said, go live your life. And I thought, oh, well, this can't be a big deal then. And I looked at my daughter, who was an RN, and we'd never heard of white matter disease. So, we went home and started researching, started to panic, started to get depressed, and thought, oh, this isn't such great news. So then some cognitive testing, some primary physicians were in place, and my cognitive testings came up with MCI, which is often the case when you're first diagnosed, which is mild cognitive impairment, as you know. And then about a year later, I had another event which caused some stuttering issues and some aphasia. So back to speech therapy and occupational therapy, things like that. And at that time, I was diagnosed with vascular dementia, early stage. And I kind of sank into how quickly is this going to go? And I just scoured the internet. And I came up with mostly the Alzheimer's organization, because they are the largest that I'm aware of in the country. I also did a bunch of reading over in the UK. They have some good material there too. And then I found a place called Dementia Alliance International, joined a support group. I told my whole family, oh my gosh. And I logged in. I never heard of Zoom, logged in, and 9 people were staring back at me, basically in the same boat that I was in. And oh my gosh, it was just what I needed. I just needed that hope. And the depression, we all cried together. These are perfect strangers. And I knew then that I had found my spot. And then from some of the folks there, they shared about dementia mentors, they shared about Dementia Action Alliance. And I got involved in every little thing I could possibly come up with. And as you know, there was kind of a posting out there in the big world that they were looking for a few people to join this lady up in Michigan and do a project called To Whom It May Concern. And from there, a bunch of us got together and we worked, I think, about a year. You were involved. Was it about a year? And then we did a live presentation. And believe me, Chuck, I before was not a speaker. I know in my job, when I'd go into a conference room or something, I swear they could hear my heart pumping when it was coming around the circle to my time. I just have never been a public speaker, and didn't like it at all. And that was my first big public speaking event. But you know what? It was a whole different thing than my career, than my job. It was personal, very, very personal. And the people that I spoke with were so uplifting, and we were all in different stages of our journey, that we just carried each other through. And then from that, Dementia Minds was born, which is what I'm heavily involved in now, and still with all the others, because it's just important to have that support group, have those dementia discussions out of DAA with Lori. And I learned so much from others and their workarounds, and how they can, when things become challenging, there's others that have already met that challenge, and they share with you some workarounds, which is huge for someone that is really trying to stay independent, and which we all are, I would hope and think. We have to get out there and bust the stigma. You know, I had huge self-stigma when I first was diagnosed. Did I want to tell anybody? Will anybody notice? I mean, I'm stuttering, and I never had before, so obviously something's gone on. And, you know, do I want to just keep it to the family? There were so many decisions and things. And then I was hard on myself. Societally, we tend to hear the word dementia and think end stage. We envision it, we see it in our mind's eye, and that is so false. It is so, so false. Now, I'm not going to say that some people don't progress quicker than others, but the day you get diagnosed is not end stage, more than likely, unless no one's ever taken you to the doctor. But I learned through others. You were a mentor. All the people that, when I first kind of came out of the closet and shared my diagnosis, were just like me, and they made me feel so comfortable. And I learned that, oh my gosh, I can live a long time. I can stay in early stage a long time. I can dip a couple of toes in moderate and still live an amazingly productive and active life. Basically, I decided that my personal goals were, after hearing so many people that received their diagnosis and were told, I just could not believe, over and over and over, they were told to go get their affairs in order. I mean, why is that happening? Why would doctors use that term? Even they need to be educated by all of us that are connecting across the country and the world, that there's a whole bunch of living to do. And you know what? Now that I've had 4 years to think about it, when my doctor said, go live your life, I used to think that was maybe a negative thing. I'm kind of thinking it was a positive thing. The only thing that was lacking there was, here's some resources, here's some information about your diagnosis. Here's a counselor that you might want to visit that's familiar with dementia of diagnosis, social worker, some of the other things that a lot of people with terminal or a delivery of a really bad diagnosis receive. I just want the same. But to go get your affairs in order sounds like doom, gloom, and despair. And thank God I didn't actually hear that. And so my passion is to get to those medical students and talk to them about the delivery of a dementia diagnosis, and hopefully encourage them to provide resources that are so, so important.
That's awesome. I noticed you said one thing about, you're perceived so differently. And I think dementia is the only disease where when you walk into a doctor's office, you are considered a person. When you get your diagnosis and you walk out, now you're not a person, you're a person with dementia.
Yes.
And I know for me, the same way with you, when you're at rock bottom, you know, and everything in your life has kind of been twisted, turned, and upside down. And I was like you, I found a support group. And I remember my feelings when I walked into that support group the first time. And I saw people there that had been there 5, 6, 7, 9, 12 years. And the same thing went through my mind. Oh my gosh, I am not going to die by next year. You know, I kind of explain what you went through and your initial reaction to seeing and being around other people that were in the same boat you were.
Well, for me, I live in Montana. It's, you know, obviously not heavily populated. So the first thing I did, I found a psychologist to talk to. She was amazing. And I found that my family were in various silos. We don't talk about it. We had a caregiver type person that wanted to swoop in and take over my life. And then we had the minimizer. Oh, that happens to me all the time. And they're not doing it to be mean. They're doing it because they don't want this to be happening, and they want you to feel normal, and it happens to them all the time. And so after, you know, it did, all of that kind of just went on and on. So I had my psychologist come to my house, and we had a family meeting, and I got to say some things I wanted to say, and we all kind of got on the same page. And my care partner kind of went, oh, good, I can go back to my life because she doesn't need me yet, you know, maybe with traveling and a few things like that. But I mean, I was just newly diagnosed. My son now asks, you know, how's it going, Mom? That kind of a thing. And so from there, that family unity kind of pulled me up a little bit by my bootstraps. I was still out here trying to wade through and find a place. And I got in touch with the Alzheimer's Association locally and tried to set up a support group, you know, peer-to-peer live. I still hadn't heard of Zoom at that point. I think we all know Zoom now after COVID, but so I met with her and my psychologist, and we decided that we'd try to start the support group. Well, only one person came, and it was him and I and our care people for several months. And I was actually out on Alzheimer's Connect when someone said something, or, you know, and that's not a Zoom thing, that's just a chat room, said something like, oh, well, there's these places called DAI, DAA, Dementia Mentors, and oh, I'm just writing it all down. And I look it up. I looked up DAA that day, applied or sent my little information in. And this lady got back to me within 24 hours and assigned me to the support group on Friday. So I was just ecstatic about it. And like I had said earlier, when I got there and saw all these people and they went around the circle and they told their story, and I just cried and cried. And I went every Friday. And from there, different ones shared other things that they were involved in. And that's how I learned about, the dementia discussions on Thursday and DAA's conferences and Dementia Mentor, what they do and their support groups. You know, there's like 26 a month you can pick from. And then, of course, our project up out of Michigan, and now there's Dementia Minds is another. So those are the only 4 that I'm really aware of, and that I want to share with everybody so they can dabble in and find the support that they need from the comfort of their own home, because of my involvement in my support groups and my friends that I've made, like yourself and so many others out here. The only sad thing is we just aren't able to get together often enough in person. but hopefully, and yay, COVID came along right when a bunch of us were getting diagnosed, and then the shut-in thing happened. But when I see yard signs that say this too will pass, I'm very, very hopeful that it'll be sooner than later. So,
Bonnie, you said something that's so important about, kind of the acceptance part and being able to communicate with your family. Because I've always said that, dementia is a family disease. And I think one of the biggest things that we're trying to deal with here in Nevada is getting kind of early diagnosis and get acceptance to that. Like you said, you brought your whole family in. Kind of explain how important that is for the entire family to be able to sit and say, okay, there's mom, she has something, but she's okay. She's doing fantastic with it. And how that kind of eased their minds about what was going on.
Well, at the time, I was having more physical issues than because it was just post-stroke. So I had some left side deficits and some word searching and some stuttering. And that's why I brought a facilitator, because she already knew what I wanted to talk about it. We worked on that for a couple weeks prior. And and she was kind of like just in my corner. It's really important for your entire family to understand your disease and know the medical side of it, and know the the physical side of it, as an individual. And what I do is about once a quarter, I write a letter to my family. I don't want them to think that I'm just smoking along, sailing along, there's nothing wrong, but I don't want them to worry. I just want them to know the facts and the truth of where I am in this journey. And so instead of coming together as a family all the time, I send them all at the same letter at the same time and say, so it's been a while since we've chatted. And I kind of explain, some bizarre things that have gone on, and and the highs and the lows of things sometimes, because I want them to know, that if I don't want to participate, it's not because I don't love them. I don't want to put myself in a position where there's 50 other people all talking at the same time. I used to be the entertainment director for the family, and we did a lot of that. We had big parties, and we'd all go to gatherings, and everybody was invited. And that's kind of, shrunken down a little bit. A lot of people that get diagnosis say that, they've lost friends. But some of it is, I haven't lost friends, but our social atmosphere has changed. I used to work, so I had work to talk about with people, and I don't have that anymore. You'd stop after work and maybe have a beer or a glass of wine. Sometimes, well, that's not really at the top of my list anymore. So, life has changed some. So I do work on contacting, but without my phone, it's really hard, but it's people like you and Mike Belleville and some others that are techies that have been able to help me just from listening, and others how to use some of the technology to stay independent.
Where does your kind of internal drive come from? Because I've seen people who were diagnosed with this, and one lady in particular, she was in our support group, and she was a neonatal nurse. And Bonnie, when she would walk into the room, you could see in her eyes there was nothing there. And it was the saddest thing I have ever seen in my life. Even when she would talk to you, it was just, there was nothing there. She had just completely lost her insides. And we've been down that road. We made a conscious decision. What was your kind of aha moment where you were at that crossroads and all of a sudden you said, enough is enough. I'm not going that way. I'm going this way. What was that like?
Yeah, I spent a lot of months, like somewhere around 16 months in a major depression. Um, I might have looked very much like that lady. I did a lot of hiding things from my family until I got it together and kind of got everyone surrounding me. And it my drive was I don't like that dark place, but I couldn't find my way out of it until I met others that had been there. And it was like, for a picture image, it was like falling in a well, and above you are all these people with their hands down to pull you back out. And every single one of them that pulled me out had a diagnosis. I'm not going to say or lie and say that I don't have bad days where where my dementia doesn't get me. I have found that I've limited myself to, if I'm in a stressful situation, it just goes rocket high. Or if I get bad news about something, the words don't come as easy and my thoughts don't come as easy. And I get off kilter quite easily, and I don't like that. But I know that if I just breathe, calm down, talk to somebody like you or somebody else like me that has what I have, you know, they talk you through it.
We've been accused of being Pollyanna and, you guys, you don't really know what's going on. And, to those people, it's just the opposite. We totally understand what's going on, but we decide to live in spite of that. I have my bad days when I make mistakes, and I'm just like you. If the stress level goes up, all my symptoms go up big time.
Oh my gosh.
It is, but you just kind of pull yourself away and, you give yourself some time, and then you come back tomorrow. And my last question, I can't believe we're already there. My last question, I always ask this to everybody. If this podcast was the first one, somebody with a recent diagnosis, what would you tell them?
That there is life after diagnosis. I'm probably going to assume that that's what most of your guests probably say. They may not believe just that one sentence, because I was in that dark place. But the more they get involved, the more they take charge of their own journey, the easier and the easier it will be to accept. My big thing is grief is going to happen, and there's all the stages of grief. The anger, the denial. Oh gosh, I spent some time in the denial. Still do from time to time. Oh, there's nothing wrong with me, and then I can't remember what I just thought and get it on paper. But just to have hope and to do your homework, do your research, find your place in the world, whether it's advocacy work, joining a support group, sitting back and just listening and being, meditation. There are so many things that you can do to help yourself live a long and fulfilling life with this diagnosis.
On behalf of This Dementia Life, I'd like to thank you for joining us today. You can view other podcasts on our website, danow.org. Please join us again to meet the most inspiring and amazing people on This Dementia Life. I'm your host, Chuck McClatchy. Remember, the brain may forget, but the heart never will. See you next time on This Dementia Life. Bye-bye.